Colombia is a beautiful country and holds a unique place in motorsport history. We all know about one Pablo Montoya, for instance. His success in the United States made him a commodity, and his stint in Formula 1 made him a very popular figure with the paddock and fans alike. But of course, he was not the only Colombian to have raced in Formula 1. There was Roberto Guerrero, for instance, an accomplished driver that ultimately had to settle for teams such as Theodore and Ensign, which wasn't great. But the only other driver from Colombia to have raced in Formula 1 was Ricardo Londono. Londono was a relatively decent driver who had competed with some success throughout the United States and in Europe, and turned up at Jacarepaguá in Rio de Janeiro to compete in the 1981 Brazilian Grand Prix. Londono had participated in an acclimatization session which was held for drivers to learn the circuit. He putted around, hoping to get a super license by the end of the session. He was around 4 seconds slower than Carlos Reutemann, which, back in those days and under those circumstances, wasn't too bad. However, angry at the Colombian for whatever reason, Keke Rosberg decided to brake test Londono and thus resulted in a crash. This led to his super license being revoked, and then there was some other things that went on. There was some suspicion with regards to where Londono's funding was coming from. Sure, there was a non-profit organisation behind him, but there was someone else. This prompted F1 Supremo Bernie Eccleston to investigate, and he found the source of the money to be coming from a company based in Medellin, Colombia. The head of that company? Pablo Escobar. Now let me just preface this by saying that I don't endorse this cat, but if you somehow aren't familiar with Pablo Escobar, let me give you the skinny. Escobar was a Colombian drug lord who led the Medellin cartel back in the 80s and early 90s, so he wasn't the nicest of people. Not that he cared. Bloated Borat here was raking in about 70 million bucks a day. With that amount of dough coming in, it was only natural for Pablo to realise his motor racing dream. Yeah, he had one. He started off by racing in the Copa Renault 4 Championship, which took place in various racing circuits throughout Colombia, most notably at the Autodromo Ricardo Mejia in Bogota. I'm pretty sure I said that name right. But anyway, the Renault 4 had a 24 horsepower engine and was never really meant for the race circuit, but they were in plentiful supply across the nation, so it wasn't the hardest thing in the world to get your hands on one for a race. He wasn't the greatest driver in the world, but he had two things going for him. The first was slightly better machinery. Didn't matter how good the other drivers were in the corners, if the car will just walk away on the straights. And secondly, who would dare beat El Patron? And this meant after 6 races in the 1979 championship, Escobar was second in the driver's standings. Because Pablo could spend money in gay abandon, police would be paid to stop his rivals from getting to the circuit, just to stack the deck against them just a little bit more. Meanwhile, Pablo would turn up to the track with 4 Renaults, 2 support trucks, catering facilities, alcohol, and his own personal helicopter to go to and fro the circuit. One of his rivals in the same series recalled the situation saying, "He was the only one with that kind of operation. He would arrive in a helicopter, but after the race he would offer everyone lavish meals and unbelievable women. I wonder if anyone really believed he did not sell drugs." Not content with staying in the Renault forever, Escobar upgraded to a 1974 Porsche 911 RSR, which was used in the IROC series by former world champion Emerson Fittipaldi. Escobar had modified it to look like a 935 and draped it up in martini colours. He would use this for hill climb events, and it was during this time that Escobar had forged a relationship with the aforementioned Londono. He had once wagered that he could come within 15 seconds of the professional racing driver. Escobar managed to get within 8 seconds and considered this a victory, essentially maintaining the same mindset that Alessio Deletta has, where he says 26th place in Formula 3 is a victory for him. This love of racing was immortalised in the Netflix series Narcos, where he is depicted racing against his cousin Gustavo, who also raced in the Copa Renault series back in the 1970s. It's amazing what history throws at you sometimes, eh? So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment below, and remember, keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a manus, and as always, I'll see you all later.